Blog Talk Radio.
Shalom, Lekulam. Peace to everyone. Welcome to the Reset Button Season 3. This season, we welcome the listener to join us while we journey through Isaiah, one of the most controversial books in the Word. We would like to accomplish understanding of the salvation of Israel mentioned. Is it one spoken of in the New Testament? Is it someone we're waiting on? Or is it in the past? Walk through this with us as we attempt to uncover this mystery. The call-in number is 516-595-8238. And press 1 at any time that you have questions or that you would like to leave a comment. Our collective email is histaught1talkradio@gmail.com. Our Facebook page is His Taught Ones and His Taught Ones Talk Radio. We also have the YouTube page at His Taught Ones Talk Radio. Subscribe and we'll be posting our episodes every week. Shalom and have a good show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another season of His Taught Ones. Talmidim, yo, here we go, back at it again. You did, yourself, Shema and some friends. We learned hard through better sheets, the Melechim. Now fresh start to what is hot. I never yin, here come the prophets. They're dropping some knowledge, abolishing doctrines, apology nonsense. They bring the word, you can call them the pinpoint. Given by the hand of the head, he is the pinpoint. Or could it be it's another? So many distances from the children, it's a misnomer. Honestly, the aroma is hideously unbearable. There is no one accord. How dare we say that we're hearing you?
Shil Yisrael, Holy One of Israel. Anachnu modim lecha al yom nosaf we al milah. We thank you for another day and for your word. Barech bivakasha et ha-mifkash hazeh. Please bless this gathering. Bo'u nishmiah. Let us say Amen. Amen.
All right, everybody. Shalom, shalom. This is Brother Yedid Yah. We're here with another episode of the Reset Button. And this is episode 21, where today we'll be discussing and sharing our contextual findings regarding Isaiah 54 through 56. Again, this is Brother Yedid Yah. I'll be the facilitator for today. And I also have Brother Shema and Brother Yosef on the panel with me.
Shalom, Israel.
Shalom, shalom. Shalom, Yosef.
Shalom.
All right. So, again, as I said, we are going to be discussing and sharing our contextual findings of Yeshayahu, Isaiah chapter 54 through chapter 56. We'll start with opening statements. I will go ahead and go last. Shema, you can go first, and then Brother Yosef, and then I'll take it over and we'll start the chapters.
Shalom, everyone. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Looking forward to seeing what these brothers are going to bring out, as usual. I hope everyone has had a good week, and I hope that you enjoy the show today.
Brother yourself, if you're not busy, you can go ahead.
Hold on in a second.
Oh. Okay. Sound like the brother occupied right now.
Give me a second.
I'll go ahead. And go with mine, and then by that time, hopefully he'll be free to speak. So, I welcome everybody, to this episode. We are winding down to the end of Yeshayahu. Got a few shows left. Today was actually scheduled to be a rest show, but we decided to go ahead and go with the chapters today. And tomorrow we will be hosting our first live debate. We got a little commercial for that. So I guess while we wait, we could run the commercial, but I think I'm going to wait till like midway through to let people come in so they can actually hear. But we do have scheduled a live debate tomorrow. We'll give more details when we play this little promo. But thank everybody for tuning in. I am ready to go over these chapters. There are a few things I would like to bring out. Shouldn't be too long today, though, but you never know. But I definitely am interested to see what these brothers bring out. I myself will be bringing out a few things. Nothing too major, but I think is very, very important for us, as a whole scope of Isaiah. Just looking at some of the things, revisiting a few things, a few thoughts, not like really going back in Scripture, but just revisiting a few thoughts of things that we ran across already that's bringing confirmation that's consistent throughout the book of Isaiah. So that's all I have. I don't know if Brother Yosef is available now. If you are, you can go ahead and take the floor, and then we'll jump into the chapters.
Yeah, I'm available to do a little quick intro. I'd just like to welcome everybody to the show. I do have a couple of things that I did see that's, going along with what we're doing in context. Like you did say, I do have a debate coming up tomorrow, and after that, it should be another one scheduled for next week. It was kind of on the fly, so I'm sorry about, the last minute. They already kind of jumped on me about that. But as far as the next week, it'll be another one. I'll wait for the commercial to play, and I'll talk about it more later. After the show, if it's time. If not, then it'll be posted on the group page and probably my personal page. You've probably already seen it on the personal page. As far as the one for tomorrow, and all the rest of the details will be later on. But I am excited to see what's going on. Well, not what's going on, but what these brothers came up with. I have some thought processes that I've had from beforehand on one of the chapters. I'll let y'all know when that comes up what it was and if I still think that way. I thought this certain way for years. I'm going to bring it to the panel and see what they think, about it, and then we're going to go from there, because it's something that I have thought, but I want to make sure that we, at least one accord and discuss it, so I'm excited about that. And that's all I have for right now. I will need just a couple minutes to get myself together, just a couple. But I was able to do this intro real quick. But I'm about to get real noisy for a second, so that's why I said I need a couple minutes. It's going to be, my background noise is going to be very loud for a second. That's all. Shalom to everyone.
All right. Guess we go ahead and jump into these chapters. Shema. I'll open it up and then I'll pass it to you, and then hopefully by that time he'll be available to give his thoughts on it. So we're starting off with Yeshayahu 54. Today I'll be using the ERV for my translation reference. And I just start off by saying, the content of this chapter, when you read through it, you'll see that the Lord, Yod-He, Waw-He, makes a proclamation to a certain woman. Okay, so you go through there, a certain woman and her children. All right, if you really decode it, you'll realize that this woman being spoken of is of a personified Jerusalem. At least that's what I came to the conclusion of. And the children would be the children of Israel or Judah, more specifically, because that is where Judah reside in Jerusalem. But nonetheless, they're still Israelites. So really, that's the summary of it, but it's also my points. So I guess to show why I came up with that understanding, as far as the woman being a personified Jerusalem, I guess I will show that as my first point, and then, when it come back around, I could show the children part as well. But so in Isaiah, you start at verse 1, it said, "Woman, be happy. You have not had any children, but you should be very happy. Yes, the woman is alone. The woman who is alone will have more children than a woman with a husband. This is what the Lord says." So initially, when reading it, you might think this is a literal woman that's being spoken of or whatever. It does sound like that. But when you go to different parts of the chapter, speaking still about this woman, you'll begin to realize that it's not a literal woman. It's just personification of some landmass, which I believe is Jerusalem. So the reason why I'll use verse 11, it says, "You poor city." So now we're seeing it's relating to a city. "You poor city, enemies came against you like storms, and no one comforts you. But I will rebuild you. I will use a beautiful mortar to lay the stones of your walls. I will use sapphire stones when I lay the foundation." That's coming, if you read it all the way through from top to bottom, it doesn't change of, the woman. The whole thing is about the woman. But that part right there just is an example of why I felt like it wasn't a literal woman. And there's more to it, but I'll just stop right there. And then when I bring the second point out about the children, you'll see how it link up. But that's all I have. I pass it to Brother Shema.
All right, appreciate that. Good stuff. What I want to point out in this, what we're seeing that Yah is doing, he's kind of like letting them know that, this is being spoken of as like, this is the moment, this is the moment, this is the final redemption period, as to either, and this is a question that I will ask, either at their time or in the future time, right? That's what we've been asking. That's what the mission statement was speaking of. So that's one of the things we got to weed out. I mean, I have my thoughts and belief on it, but that's a question to be asked. But he's letting them know that, hey, this is what took place with your ancestors, your forefathers, your foremothers, the things that they went through, is going to come to pass, through my mercy and through my kindness. So, but one of the things I want to bring out before I even get into that thing is verse 5. And that's just my thing that I continue to bring out. But it says in the version that I'm reading from, the Stone Edition, Tanakh, is for your master is your maker, Yah, Yod He Wah He. Master of legions is his name. Your Redeemer is the Holy One of Israel. God of all the world will he be called. So I think that that's something to pay attention to when we're reading through the prophets or the Nevi'im. And also I want to point out how he was bringing out, if you notice, the Nevi'im or the prophets, it's like they spoke in code, right? So, maybe the panelists or anybody that's listening in might add on to what I'm saying, but why did they write in this way? That's a question that you have to wonder. Why didn't, I don't recall too much like Moshe or anybody, the writer of the Torah, writing in this type of way. So when understanding or trying to understand why they wrote this way, I think that it helped the bigger picture in the whole picture of the Tanakh or the prophets, while trying to attach it to a different point in time. So when we realize why something is being wrote like this, and for what purpose, then it probably can paint a better picture as to what time or in what time this was for. So I just wanted to point that out. That's all I have for right now.
Hey, yourself, if you're available, you can go ahead and chime in.
Yeah, let me caveat a little bit. It might be a little bit loud in my background. I'm just trying not to, I'm trying to be quick on a caveat. And I wanted to say something. I don't know about the, now we is 54, right? And when you said woman, what verse did you get woman in? I don't have woman in the KJV. That's why I asked.
Okay, let me look at the KJV real quick.
Like mine starts off, sing, O barren. Thou does not break forth into singing and cry aloud. That is not travail with child. I mean, I understand that would be a woman. You know what I'm saying? I already know,
even
like,
when you
with child,
keep
of the
reading,
personification.
and the children of the married woman, says the Lord. So I think when it took
Well,
barren,
so it says, for more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife.
right. So, I guess new KJV say woman. But wife, woman, you know what I'm saying? Isha, I would assume that's what's in the Hebrew.
Same
Isha.
thing, right.
And we know that it's translated both woman and wife, just like Ish could be man or husband. You know what I'm saying? And from the Hebrew standpoint, you know what I'm saying, they use the same term for both. I can confirm that, so it just won't be an ideal. Let me see. Trying to see where's the woman at. You can keep going though. Oh man, let me see. I'm not seeing Isha here in the Hebrew, so that's the woman. But it is translated as woman. Let me see what word is being translated as woman. From the word Baal. Be'ula. So, but it derives from Baal, which is husband. So, this is more so like you understand that it's talking about a woman is basically, because the version that I'm having is just it simplifies, you know what I'm saying, the words basically. So where it got barren, let me go to the actual KJV so I can see what you're looking at. But you can go ahead with your point and then I'll come back. But this just
yeah, I didn't know if it was woman or the children of Israel, only because, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying it's just a test to the fact that different versions can paint different pictures or whatever, but
yeah. And that's another thing that, like, okay, I see the barren child and stuff like that, but then I'm like, it can say woman, so it kind of, like, the translation will always give you a perception. I realize that. So when I see it, I didn't really see Jerusalem, but if, you know, with the words woman and stuff like that, after I looked at it, I could see Jerusalem. The reason why I didn't see Jerusalem is just for a couple words, and I see shall inherit the Gentiles and make desolate the cities to be inhabited. I thought of seed being literal offspring, but it doesn't have to be, you know, technically, because it's all an analogy. That's the thing that you were saying. Then to comment off of what Shema was saying about the way it's speaking,
So when you hold on real quick. So I'm looking in the KJV. So it's a sing, O barren. So we know that a woman is barren. You know what I'm saying? So it's the subject of this is O barren. The children are not barren. It's the woman that's barren. So O barren, thou that didst not bear, break forth in singing and cry aloud. Thou that didst not travail with child, colon. So it's saying, it's comparing the city to a barren woman. When you go down to, like I said in 11 from the KJV, O thou afflicted tossed with tempest, and not comforted. Behold, I will lay thy stones. So it's talking about thy stones. It's talking about the city, because the city has been destroyed. It's desolate, as we've been reading in context. And it's talking about bringing the children back, because the children, she is not bringing forth any children. The children have been taken from her.
Now,
So
the
like
children, you're talking about literal people. Like, basically, the land having people in it. That's
right.
what I said. Like, I can see it now as you said it, and I can see it now being the land and then the seed being the children. I was just saying my original thought was, that this was could have been Jerusalem. I mean, not Jerusalem, Israel at this point. That's why I say,
but it go hand in hand. The children is Israel, the children
I should have,
Israel.
read a couple different translations. It might, sometimes you get caught up on a word, and the word kind of give you, like I said, the word gave me the perception. When I saw seed, I was like, oh, okay, well, I think that's Israel because, who else gonna have a seed like as far as offspring? But then, like, just the poetic language, this was going into the point what I was talking about with Shema. I believe this is, more of that poetic speech. It's not, I don't see the thus says the Lord, you know what I'm saying? So this could technically be just Isaiah speaking and, saying what he's saying. And he's using analogies so they can understand what's going on. But as far as what the Most High be saying and how he be talking to the people, I haven't really seen him talking to.
It saith the Lord at the end of verse 1.
But where does that stop? Where does that start? You know what I'm saying? Is all of it says the Lord, or just the last part?
Well, I'm saying it says, sing, O barren, and then everything that I read, and then it says, saith the Lord. So this is what he's relaying.
Okay.
Right. He's relaying this from the Lord to the city. That's my perception, though. But to the city, he's relaying his message.
Like it says 5, it says, this is the reason why I was like, where does it start? Where does it start? Stop. Because of how it says, for thy maker is thine husband, the Lord of hosts, or Yah, is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. The God of the whole earth shall he be called. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying the Most High won't speak like that, but, sometimes, well, most of the time, he's like, I will do this, I am this, I am that. Well, as far as especially how I've been seeing in Isaiah previously, the Most High been, lack of better words with my slang, been banging on Israel about how they been acting like, I've been this, I'm that, I'm the only one. You know what I'm saying? But Isaiah been co-signing. You know what I'm saying? So it could be that the Most High said it. It's just not like one of those prophetic words where it's mouth to mouth type of deal, like where it's the Most High speaking at that time. It could also be just, he said this. He's not speaking right now, but this is what he said.
Right.
So,
it's relaying the message,
Right. So,
but we got Janoy in the queue. I believe that's Janoy. Just to make us aware because we kind of running.
Okay.
He been in there for a minute, so just go ahead and just close out with your statement or whatever. That way we could let him in, and then we can move forward.
I just wanted to just basically, kind of cap, like my first point is basically, I know Jedediah had summed it up, but with my first actual point, it was more so of the telling of the restoration of Israel, with the first 3, and because you got to understand that the way the scene is set is the way it's presented as if inside of exile, dealing with what they're dealing with. And, this is like one of those, rainbow at the end of the tunnel type of deal. So I always try to point those things out because, like the Most High said plenty of times, and He will continue to say throughout this book, or not just this book, but throughout the literature, you know what I'm saying, is that He won't forsake them. You know what I'm saying? Like, they going through something, they see desolation, but they'll be okay. You know what I mean? They're going through it, already I believe in 40, it said, I repaid you double for the Lord has repaid double for your iniquities. And we already know that they was treated bad. So in the middle of exile, you have a lot of discouragement. You have a lot of doubt with the Most High. Well, why would He do this? Why would He take away His His people? Why would the temple be destroyed? Why would all that stuff? You would question those things because you think, oh yeah, this is the Most High temple. This is the grand thing. This is what He wanted. Why would He destroy it? Because in their aspects, the Most High did it, because that's what the Most High said He was going to do. Why would you destroy something and put your sacrifices on? This is your sacrifices now. Now you got a bad mind frame, and you might doubt the Most High. But here's the encouraging words, and He's been encouraging them throughout the whole text to say, "I know it's bad right now, but it will get better." I just wanted to kind of highlight that part as my first point, and I believe y'all touched on it. You touched on it already. I just wanted to expound a little bit. And you can open up the mic.
All right. Janoy, I believe that's you. If it's not you, go ahead. Whoever you are, announce who you are so we know.
Azaria. It's Azaria. Shalom, Akim, shalom, Akim. Blessed Passover. Happy high day, happy Sabbath. Blessed Shabbat. Shalom, Shabbat. I think Jedediah summed it up real nice about it. Like, I was just going to throw it out there. Like, it looked like it's describing the children and the children, the land and the children of the land, I should say. I really don't, as far as the child of the desolate and the child of being more than the child of the married wife, I really don't know or want to just jump and say that mean this or that mean that, but I feel like it's certain ways you can look at it, meaning desolate, the children of Israel in captivity is more than the children of Israel that's actually should be born in the land. Like they say, the Gentiles, the seed shall inherit the Gentiles and make the desolate cities be inhabited. So I mean, this kind of look like prophecy of captivity in a way. Prophecy of captivity and restoration, like O was just speaking on. But as far as him saying, when do it say, "Thus said the Lord," I scrolled back to all the scriptures, and it's like it was like all the chapters. It was like it was an ongoing story. The last chapter where it started off with him saying, "Thus said the Lord," is where is it at? We was in 54.
Yeah, we in 54 now. Was it before?
Yeah.
Before this?
It was like 52, I believe. Let me see.
Yeah, because 53
looked like it was
a
an ongoing
servant.
story. Right.
Yeah, it is. Where it say, "Wake up, wake up."
Mm-hmm. Right.
Hold on,
right.
50.
That's
It's
exactly
52.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna go to it. I'm going to go to it in the KJV because, you know what I'm saying, that's more familiar than what I'm reading. Awaken, awaken, put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. That's how it start off. So yeah, it's like it seemed like it's a continuation, and it keep jumping from it went 52, 53 talked about the suffering servant, and then it jumped back on 54 to the city. So it's like it's talking about both the city and the children, because Jerusalem is the holy city. That's Zion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or Zion. So both of them gotta be is connected, because that's the land he promised them. That's where he set up his temple. That's where he dwell at. So everything is a connection. That's where they had a feast at. That's where they gather at. So everything is connected. He can't bring them back to a desolate city, or he can't bring them back and then the city don't get took care of. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's in conjunction with both.
I agree with that. Then another thing I want to say is, like, I agree that some of the prophets may have spoke and written their own words, but I believe that they was always guided by the Spirit for the Most High to let this word be preserved. I believe it had to been guided by the Spirit. And in chapter 50, we see him say, "The Lord God hath given me the tongue of the learned, that I should know how to speak a word and season to him that is weary." So, I mean, it's like I don't believe that he was just, saying no poetic gibberish or nothing. Like, I ain't saying that that's what you saying either. But it's like I was saying it as...
Because I wasn't saying, like, that was talking about just from a standpoint of the captivity standpoint. And in order for you to, I wanted to just say real quick, jump in, because I've been quiet for a long time. I just wanted to respond to you, because I was the one to say that in order to do it so greatly that he did it, you got to be led by the Most High. Like, I don't believe somebody can be this great of a writer in poetic speech on certain aspects of the literature unless you are moved by the Most High, of course. So I just wanted to say that for the listeners, that I do agree with what you're saying.
And you know what? I don't know if it was last week or the week before last when you said something about personification. It's a lot of that in here where, like, you got to really, like, dig and to see what it means. And, I mean, I'm just tuning in. Like I say, I was just, throwing what I seen out there. For the most part, that's what I see him talking about, the land and the children of the land. So I'll keep the show rolling. I'm here.
All right, man. Appreciate it. I'm going to mute your mic. You know what to do. Hit 1.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready to come back, hit 1 again. We'll bring you back in.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the first points. Everybody got their first points out. Pretty much was the same. It's just a little bit elaborative. What I wanted to do is go back and kind of bring in the children. I kind of highlighted the personification of Jerusalem as a barren woman, but I want to also bring in the children, and I'm gonna go to verse 13 to bring in that point. It say, "Behold," I'm reading from the KJV now. "Behold, my servant shall deal prudently." Hold on, my bad. I'm still in 52. All right, let's try this again. 13. "And all thy children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be the peace of thy children." So, again, we see this poetic personification. When it talks about children, it's talking about of the barren woman. If you go up, it talks about that she will have more children, and that's from the version I was reading. Let me go to the KJV. "For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, saith the Lord." So it's talking about here that basically your children will be more. You know what I'm saying? So it begin to multiply because the children ain't in the land. The land is desolate. It been invaded and everything like that. So her children are not being brought up. So in the land. But when you go to 13, you see, and all thy children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be the peace of thy children. Right now they being oppressed, they captive. But as Brother Yosef said, you see the plot thickening and the setting becoming of the return, and that they will dwell in peace in the land. So this is what is being highlighted, chapter, showing that, okay, what he really doing is poetically, painting a picture of, okay, the land, it was desolate. The children of the land was taken away. No children are being brought forth in the land. But now he's reassuring that, hey, you know what I'm saying, dress up, just like when you go back to 52. You know what I'm saying? It's preparing, it's telling, it's like, it's as if the Most High is speaking to a barren woman. But he's speaking to the land saying, dress up. When he say dress up, he mean like prepare yourself. You know how women, they say, get all dolled up, put your jewelry on, you know what I'm saying, because it's a special occasion. So this special occasion is I'm bringing your children back. You know what I'm saying? You gon', I'm going to rebuild what was lost, and your children going to dwell in peace, meaning that they ain't going to be in captivity no more. You know what I'm saying? They going to be able to come back to you, dwell in the land, and not have to worry about being oppressed or anything like that. So that's the picture that's being painted right now, and that's my last point. I don't really have anything else. That's what this chapter was for me, and I'll pass it to Shema once again, and then yourself, you go after him, and then we'll take any other comments or whatever before we move on to the next chapter.
I appreciate that. Give me 1 second. All right. So I got a theme for today, in a sense, that I want to bring out. And it's kind of like it's dealing with the character of the Most High. It's dealing with His Word. It's dealing with something that I believe that we are to be set apart or holy as He is, or trying to be or walk within His righteousness and in the righteousness that He desires of us. I also believe that we should press, because I know a lot of people would probably disagree with me, press to do what I am about to read in verse 9. So it says, because if He can do this with Yisrael, and we claim to be Yisrael, then we should be able to do this amongst each other if we press. So it says, for like the waters of Noah shall this be to me. Just as I swore that the waters of Noah would never again pass over the earth, so have I sworn not to be wrathful with you, nor to rebuke you. I just wanted to read that part because I think a lot of times it's hard for us to forgive, something that has taken place with our brothers, with our sisters, and we put on this facade of righteousness, and we do not, and this isn't to say that we aren't trying. I want to put that out there. But this is to say to really pay attention to your weaknesses, your quote-unquote, what people will say, flaws. I won't really look at it as a flaw, just look at it as something that needs to be improved. But some will say that's the same thing. I don't believe it to be. But if you are somebody that is Israel or someone that holds on to the covenant of Israel or the Most High, his heritage, then one of the traits or the characteristics of the body from the head is to have a sense of forgiveness and to actually let it go, especially if you say you have. So that's just something I wanted to put out there. Some will say, well, this is the Most High. This ain't us. Well, I mean, the Most High said what he said as far as to be like him, too. So that's all I wanted to put out as my point right here on some reality stuff, dealing with our inner spirit.
While I agree with Shema, I also disagree to an extent. And the reason why I say that is the Most High is forgiving, but not all things. He does have mercy on who he want to have mercy on. I mean, some of the laws, and this is just my perspective at this point, some of the laws, warranted death, not forgiveness. Some of the laws warranted forgiveness as far as the offerings, doves, such. But some stuff was like, that, like blaspheming the Most High, it's a wrap. Okay, like, you finna get hit in the head, with the fangs. So, that's why I say, I believe in the Most High mercies, but I believe everybody has, even the Most High has a limit that it's like, I can't believe you did that. So, I
want to respond to that, sir, if you allow me to.
You could respond. Give me a second.
Before you even go forward, because it needs to be responded.
Let me finish my point. This ain't even my point. Let me finish my response to your thing, so you make sure that you have a full totality. And it's not to say, it's not to say that the Most High isn't forgiving or loving and stuff like that, but we all have boundaries. Even the Most High has boundaries. And it's not to hold the stuff in. What I mean by that is, let me clear this up a little bit better. Our form of forgiveness could be, I'm not holding it against you, but it doesn't have to necessarily be to the point where everything is, wiped out. I think also forgiveness is also talked about as if like, oh yeah, I just forgot about what you said. And nowhere, you know what I'm saying, the Most High said he won't remember your sins no more, but he was talking to Israel about certain things. But on certain individual things, it was like, but you did this. You know what I'm saying? And that was just like when Josiah and them, they found all the stuff, and I hope I'm not saying the wrong person, but Josiah and them, they found the book and everything, and then they like, all right, man, it's cool on y'all. I understand y'all don't repented, but this still gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't take away from his mercies. That doesn't take away from his kindness. That doesn't take away from none of that, okay? And I don't want anybody to think that's what I'm saying, oh, he's not loving, kind. It's just that sometimes I think, and I'm not saying Shema saying this, but what some people feel like they can do whatever they want to do. And I know Shema ain't saying it, so I'm gonna say that I know Shema ain't saying it, but some people might feel I could do whatever I want to do with the Most High, and He's just gonna forgive me. I feel like that's a perception of taking the Most High's mercies for granted to just say I can just do whatever, He gonna forgive me, because it say He forgive. But man, He done punished the dog mess out of people, knocked people off, opened up grounds and swallowed people, so on and so forth. Moses didn't make it into the promised land, so it's sometimes it's a limit where He like, now that yeah, I might whatever. It's still some punishments linked to things. That's what I say. Like even with David said, I forgive you, but you're still gonna have punishments. Now, hopefully your punishment isn't death. because that has been the punishment for things. And then that raises the question of, you forgave me but killed me? You know what I'm saying? So it's like a 50-50 with me. I'm not saying anything wrong with what Shaman's saying. I actually, like I said, I agree. I just do think it's limits. And the reason why I bring it up is only because of some people's perception of how they can just do whatever and the Most High going to forgive them. Or they would do whatever to people and say, you should forgive me because the Most High would. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, you just punched me in my eye 5 times. I have a right to, you know what I'm saying, be upset. I have a right to be human and want to retaliate, you know what I mean, if I got punched so many times. So that's my thing. It's more so it's not to knock anything he's saying. It's not to take advantage of the Most High because he is forgiving. Let me put it like that. So go ahead and then I'll go with my points.
All right. So one thing I like to bring out to people, and I don't call myself a teacher, but I'm going to say teach people, is to listen to the whole thing and allow to look at the track record of what has been done and said. But what in totality, using his verbiage, I want to say, I said I have a theme for today. It's 3 chapters. So my theme is not done. I want to say that. So I might not even respond. I'm going to probably bring it out. Next, I wanted to say is forgiving is forgiving with the Most High. That's a fact. That's a point blank. But I never said that because I've said over the course of the show, anybody that has been following along, like he brought out with the whole Daweed, he forgave him, period, point blank. But it's still something that comes along with it. I forgive you. The thing is forgiving and then not bringing it back up. Most High didn't bring anything back up if the rest of my theme, I'm going to bring out what I mean with that statement. It wasn't nothing brought back up unless you kept doing something. So it's something that comes with forgiving. That's why I said I have a theme for today, and there's 3 chapters left. So it's going to come out in my next chapter as to how he will forgive, period. And that's what I'm talking about for us. Now, that's more so on our inner character. We can't really dictate someone else's. You know, once they continuing whatever they're doing, then what you have to do is probably step away. But as far as the theme that I want to present in the forgiving, I'm going to show you in the next chapter how the Most High, he forgives, period. And you'll see what I'm saying once we finish with my theme. So, in the totality, like you had mentioned, you know what I'm saying, of what I'm trying to present.
I'm going to make a disclaimer. I'm sorry. I will apologize. And because I'm going to make a disclaimer because I might think a little different from you guys, so on and so forth. So the perception of this writer, this was my disclaimer. So the perception of this writer, you know what I'm saying, he brings out a personal characteristics of the Most High. And if we, look closely, we will see different people's perspectives of the Most High. So as I started to talk about it, then I started to think about it, I said to myself, I can bring scriptures, he can bring scriptures all day. Doesn't make neither one of them right or wrong, because then that would mean that we got 2 scriptures saying something different, and we'll be over here. That's what people do. They fight over, which one is right or wrong. But in Isaiah, in this time of exile and what's going on, this is what, Isaiah is portraying. It is other points in the book that might point to opposite. But this is, that's what was going on at that time, the perception of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? The writer, if I'm making sense. I hope so, because I don't want to repeat it. I just want to kind of move on to the point. All right. That made sense? Everybody? All right. Good. So my point comes from 7, 8, 9. For 7 it says, for a small moment have I forsaken thee, but will have great mercies will I gather thee. All right. So first off, I want to say that we have the exile, all right? We have restoration, and we have a gathering. All right, this is Babylonian exile. There will be restoration of the land, and then it would be, the gathering. All right, this word gathering has been used multiple times in the scripture already. And my perception, this gathering ties to a lot. That's all I'll say with that. And I'll just keep going. In a little wrath, I hid my face from thee for a moment. But with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, says Yah, thy Redeemer. So he did say it's not forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, for a moment, like that's what we was talking about, the whole thing. Like, yeah, it happened, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of your nation. It's not the end of me and then what I have established with you. Okay, and then in 9, for this is as the waters of Noah to me. All right, remember this. For as I have sworn, the waters of Noah shall no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wrath with thee, nor rebuke thee. Wrath. Sorry. Not be wroth with thee or rebuke thee. Now, that doesn't mean you never rebuke them or never be wroth. This is basically saying this is not going to last forever. Just like this, I'm not going to do that because this is the covenant I had. This is a very good, it's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I just want to bring it to today's reality. We going through, if you're going through a situation or, you feel like, things get down or something, even if, rare case scenarios that you feel like the Most High is punishing you for something that you did, it will not last forever. For the people, for the people that, really have a good heart towards the Most High, like, all right, I'm going to, do what's right. I cannot promise that to someone that says, I don't ever want to do what's right. I can't say that the punishment, he's not going to stop whooping you and you ain't turned away from your current situations, because if you remember the first verse of Isaiah, he talks about turning away from your iniquities and stuff like this. All this stuff is, in correlation with. Also, just a cute key note, the thing that made Israel so special is when they got into exile, they was the only nation that continued to believe in the Most High. Now, you did have idolaters. There was amongst them. But you did have a great amount of people that continued in the worship and stuff like that, even without a temple, out of their land. Nobody has did that at that point, to go into exile and continue to believe in their God. Everybody absorbed the God of the other land. All right, just a little bit, and that's all I got for that part. That's one of my points. And I know y'all don't have anything else. We have something else, and we go back and forth, Shabbat, as far as your points.
We got Brother Mercy in the queue. So whenever y'all are
that's cool.
ready, to let him in, and then we could move on to the next points if y'all want. If y'all have any, I don't know if y'all have any. I was finished with my points, so I guess if y'all agree, we can let Brother Mercy in. Right, so.
That's fine with me. I just had one point. That's to be at the end. It wasn't meant to be.
All right, Brother Mercy, you live.
Yeah, happy Sabbath, brothers. Shalom. I was going to say that, David did say in one of his songs that his mercy endures forever, several times. But I think we look at forgiveness like the Christians trained us to think. Like you just get away with it.
You kind of low, Brother Mercy. I could barely hear you.
Okay. I think a lot of times we look at forgiveness, we look at it like you get away with something. There's no penalty. And I think that's the wrong understanding of forgiveness. Because the scripture does say God is not mocked.
a man reaps what he sows. So I think people just think, okay, he forgave me, there's no penalty for what I've done. And that's not forgiveness. You know, he always, there is a penalty to be paid. And, you know, keep living. And there's a penalty to pay, you must pay the penalty. And yes, you know, we talk about repentance and all that good stuff. But I think a lot of people, they think about I mean, they even say it in Sunday church. Well, he forgive you, that means he's not penalty. You know, I think that's a lie. You know, stuff. You know, and I think people just don't want to deal with the consequences. You know, the actions that they said.
Brother Mercer, I don't know what's going on with your phone, but like you're real low. You keep going in and out or whatever. I don't know if you're in a bad area. It's hard for us to make out what you're saying.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. But then
okay.
After you got to talking for a while, you kind of start fading out.
Okay, can
and
you
also,
hear me now?
And also if you could just try to get to your point, and so we could move on with the chapters and stuff.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, his mercy endures forever, but understand that there's just, you got to reap what you sow. That's the only point I'm trying to make. There's a penalty for our actions. So once we get past the penalty, then, you know, like Israel had to go through 70 years and this, that, and the other. You know, there's a penalty. So that's all I wanted to say. A lot of times, you know, we think forgiveness don't include a penalty, but, you know, just the flag gets thrown, and then, yeah, we can move on.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna mute your mic, Brother Mercy. You know what to do. You've been here for a minute. All right. Brother Yosef, you can go ahead, unless Brother Shemai had another point he wanted to bring out with your point. So, Shemai, if you have something, you go ahead, and then if not, just pass it to Brother Yosef, and then y'all keep going back and forth. Unless I got something to chime in with, y'all two could go ahead and close out this chapter, and then we'll move forward.
I don't have anything.
All right, I'll go. It's just a couple of things. Just kind of caveats off this, you know, his mercies and stuff like that, and the perception of what's going on. So it says, "In righteousness shalt thou be established. Thou shalt not be far from oppression, for thou shalt not fear from terror, and it shall not come near to thee." You know, I thought that was self-explanatory. "Behold, they shall surely gather together, but not by me. Whosoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for thy sake." Now, this is a different gathering. You know what I mean? They will gather against thee will be, I would believe, you know, other nations in context. Other nations gathering against thee to attack thee. Okay. But then I'm going to skip out to the last one. You know, the famous, everybody said this: "No weapon formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yah, and the righteousness is of me, says Yah." Okay. Just wanted to close that out. I always like the "no weapon formed against you shall prosper" in speech. I'm going to say this: we can apply that to, you know, it's a lot of the scriptures have real applications that can be applied to our life. But to be honest with you, if everybody to me can't claim that ain't no weapon formed against them shall prosper, because it's not this situation. It's not a restoration, and you're seeing whatever these people try to do to you, it's not going to happen. Now, I'm not saying the Most High won't personally have that for you, but I think it'd be, to say that it applies to everybody, And then somebody over there talking about something, well, this seems like a weapon that's prosperous. This seems like a weapon that's prosperous. They could possibly be going through a punishment on an individual status. But I know this is one of those scriptures that's said in Sunday church all the time, and it's encouraging to tell everybody that no weapon formed against them shall prosper. Especially, you ain't telling them how it's not going to, like you're not telling them to do right. You just telling them, yeah, you're going through some things, it ain't going to prosper. People be like, man, I lost my job, my car, and all that. It seems like it's prospering to me. So just one of those things, like I said, I've taken from Sunday church as far as no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I've applied that to my life. This isn't what I was talking about earlier. But I've applied that to my life in every situation. I've repeated that. But in some instances, it could have been the Most High, whipping me for a minute, and that's going to prosper. You know what I mean? To be on some honest. So that's all I have for this chapter. And that's it.
Okay. So I think we got some good input from everybody on this first chapter. I would just say, just for everybody, including myself, let's just make sure we stay on the topic at hand with the chapter and everything like that. That way we get through this, and if we want to add that to a rest show topic, to elaborate on certain points, then we do so. Before we move forward to the next chapter, I'm gonna go ahead and run this this commercial. So we about to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back. Real short commercial break, then we'll be back. Let everybody recoup, regather, and then we're gonna go ahead and jump to this next chapter. What's up, everybody? This is Yiddy Ya, 1/3 of his Top Ones Talk Radio panelists. And this Sunday, April 1st, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, we are hosting our first live debate on the subject of captivity. Are we in captivity or are we not in captivity? That's the debate topic, and it's going down live between Dwayne Patrick and one of ACO's own, Yosef HaOdeh. Tune in and see who hit their reset button. Shalom, and may y'all bless. All right, real short commercial, but yeah, we got a live debate. We got Janor in the queue. I'm gonna go ahead. I
want to say before you let him in, I mean, just real quick. I like what you did. You know what I'm saying? And y'all don't even know that man did that in less than a day. You know what I'm saying? In a matter of hours, he done put this together. It was a surprise to me, and I don't know if it's a surprise to Shema, but I just want to give you commemorations. Like, y'all don't know, man. Sometimes this man be pressed for time, and he still be boom, 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 boom. So. Big ups to you. You know, that was our first commercial that ever aired. So I think he did a good job. I don't know. You know, that's my personal opinion. Go ahead and let him in. That's all I have.
All right. Brother Janor, you live.
Man, y'all finna get it cracking, man. You talking about first live debate show. I'm digging the commercial too, but look, remember the Mayweather shoulder. I'm definitely throwing in there for that. Right, remember.
That's an old inside joke right there. They go back about 3 years, bro.
I'm most definitely throwing in for that. I was going to say that pertaining to the mercies and forgiveness, when you said you feel like God the Most High got to extend, do you mean like to a person that got knowledge of right and wrong and just continue to do wrong, or a person that don't have knowledge of right and wrong and just do it wrong?
This is to me. Your question is to me, Janoy?
Yeah, just more so the panelists.
Oh, okay. I know me and Shema was talking about it.
It was kind of to you more so because you agreed and disagreed with Shema's statement about the forgiveness part.
Well, this is the thing, man. Like
the cue button, I only did it to act
right
that when you had said that, you know.
Okay, I'm gonna try to make it quick. You know what I'm saying? I don't really measure the Most High's mercies, and you know what I'm saying, and how he and what he finds deems. Now, in my personal belief, I believe that he, has more mercy on the ones that don't know. You know what I mean? And then the ones that just know and just want to continue to do bad. So that's it. And the only reason I say that is because my life has been way better since I started being obedient. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know I was like going through stuff, like, but it wasn't as bad. It wasn't like the worst it could have been. You know what I mean? Like he could have been worse. Like for one, he could have killed me.
You recognize stuff though.
As I open my eyes and I say, wow, you know what I'm saying? That life over there was hard, and I was disobedient at that time, but I didn't really think that life was hard until I got into an easier life. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. Like when you in it, you don't really think of it like this is life. Then when you rise above it, you look back and you say, well, thank you for not knocking me off, but I see you was whooping me a little bit because people living way better than I. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have been doing way better. I could have been obedient and doing what he wanted. But that's it.
Okay. That's all. I just wanted to understand. I agree. But I mean, it's a good thing to recognize the punishment because we know the scripture tell us, he chasten and correct who he loves. So I mean, no, that's all I wanted to know.
For sure, appreciate it.
All right, we're going to go into the next chapter. Let me take Janoy out the queue real quick. All right, Janoy, I muted your mic. You know what to do. We're going to go into the next chapter, which is Yeshayahu 55. And yourself, you can go first. Shema, you can go second. I'll go last on this one. So you go ahead and start it off yourself.
For sure. All right, my first point actually was in 2. So I got to read 1 to get some context. It says, "Ho, everyone that thirsts, come ye to the waters, and he that has no money, come ye buy, and eat. Yea, come buy wine and milk without money and without price." All right. That's the context. "Wherefore do ye spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfies not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness." All right. I always read the KJV slow because it's but I just wanted to say that, and this one is I was talking about this the other day to somebody about how to seeking the Most High. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to get to the point where we seek Him, and this just brought out something that I said, so that's why it's like it's hearken diligently unto me, all right, and eat ye that which is good. Well, I hate that verbiage, but so this is something that he's been saying, like, hey, I'm the one. Now, just a little bit of I always put people in the history of mine what you seeing is this is the only nation that had one God, one Elohim. You know what I'm saying? And they started acting up as far as messing with other gods. So now this is the plea. This is a difference. This is a shift. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you, this seems to me as a start of a relationship with the Most High. You know what I'm saying? Like him saying, hey, coming to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all understand what I'm saying. So in the older times, you remember, they say, hey, we don't want you speaking to us. Speak to the prophets. All right? So now you got exile, 4 pointers, you know what I'm saying? They're everywhere. And, the message is to hearken unto him. You'll see, and I'm going to prove this throughout the books, you'll see the prophets in the exile, how they speak on more of a personal relationship and still doing what's right. You know what I'm saying? More than just the priesthood and speaking to the priest. So I just want to point that out because you'll see it later on. I promise, I'll bring it up later, but this is just like a nugget. That's my first point. So I pass the flow.
All right, cool. So what I want to bring out is going to go into what I was talking about in the first chapter, which is really my only point. And if anyone follows me on Facebook or Instagram, it was actually a word of encouragement this morning. So going back to 54 real quick, I talked about what was it at? Oh, verse 9, when he talked about, for like the waters of Noah shall this be to me, just as I swore that the waters of Noah would never again pass over the earth, which has never again passed over the earth, everyone, or that region, whatever belief system any of us have, in regards to that situation that was going on. So I agree with yourself, like you get a punishment, but he stick to his word. So I've sworn not to be wrathful with you nor to rebuke you, in that manner anyway. So going back to verse 6, here's the key. Here's the key to that forgiveness is what I'm speaking of. Seek Yah when he can be found. Verse 6, sorry. Call upon him when he is near. Let the wicked one forsake his way. You have to forsake your way. And the iniquitous man, his thoughts. Change your thoughts. We spoke about that earlier, me and the panelists, on thoughts, the Yah conscience. We used to speak on a lot. Change your thoughts. Change your mindset. Change it according to me, according to my righteousness, which I think I just passed that part too. Hold on, I'm sorry, y'all. Maybe that's the next. Yeah, that's the next chapter. Okay. So, and it's going to tie into the theme I have. So, seek Yah when he can be found. Call upon him when he is near. Let the wicked one forsake his way, and the iniquitous man his thoughts. So that's the first initial key right there. Let him return to Yah. You got to return. Children of Israel wasn't doing that. That's why they kept getting punished. With Dawid, you got to get punishment for something you've done. You know what I'm saying? But he, in that instance, if I'm not mistaken, everybody correct me if I'm wrong, return. Still got punished, of course. Where am I at? Let him return to Yah, and he will show him mercy to our Elohim, for he is abundantly forgiving. For my thoughts, and here go a verse that I used to use this out of context too, by the way, back in the day, y'all. But now I see what it's attached to. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, and your ways are not my ways. The word of Yah. What is he saying when he says that? He's still talking in context of this forgiving. Us we don't have this sense of forgiving, that he has, but we can go towards it. Verse 9, as high as the heavens over the earth, so are my ways higher than yours, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So going back in context, he just said, let the wicked one forsake his way. So he's still talking about coming back to him. And iniquitous man, his thoughts. That's when he comes and he says, my ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. So come back to me, right? For just as the rain and snow descend from heaven and will not return there, rather it waters the earth and causes it to produce and sprout and give seed to the sower and the food to the eater, so shall be my word that emanates from my mouth. It will not return to me unfulfilled, unless it will have accomplished what I desire and success where I sent it. So this forgiveness, he's putting that's deep, that's gone, But the only way that you can get this forgiveness, like he said, he have mercy on who he have mercy on. Sometimes you be like, man, how you put mercy on dude, But as far as the initial point I'm speaking of is the verse 6 and verse 7. So that's my point that I wanted to bring out. That's actually my only point for this chapter, y'all.
All right, that was beautiful. Yeah. That was beautiful.
I was about to say, that was good. That's all.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was beautiful. I love how the Most High shows certain things. Like we look at one thing and we can. It's like so much within that one thing. Because my point is coming from the same verse, verse 7. And I saw something else. And when I say something else, I mean in addition to what the brother is pointing out. My point is coming from a different perspective. I'm going to read both versions. I'm going to read the version that I initially was starting off in, but I'm going to start off with the KJV first. So verse 7 in the KJV, it reads, let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, colon. So we know that's elaborating on that first thought. And let him return unto the Lord. So when you basically, just to kind of display the literature of and the usage of the colon, it say, let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, colon. So now it's going to elaborate with the first thought, meaning that it's in conjunction or it has the same relativity of that what comes after the colon with that was before the colon. So, and let him return to the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. So what is really trying to display is when the wicked forsake his way, and the righteous man and the unrighteous man his thoughts, that means you are returning to the Lord. And he will have mercy upon you. So when you do those things, these things is what's really happening. You actually returning. When you forsake your wicked ways, you are actually returning to the Most High. And when the unrighteous man, forsake his thoughts, he is returning to the Lord, and it's automatic that the Most High gonna have mercy upon you. Now that mercy, like we said, it still can come with some consequences behind it, but he's still having mercy because he could have took you out. He could have took your life. So anything other than that is mercy. So you gotta appreciate still being alive. And they say he will pardon abundantly. Now this is he will, so we know this is a future thing, that once you turn, then he will pardon abundantly all those things, all those wicked ways and all those unrighteous thoughts that you had in your mind. He will pardon those things. Now, I'm going to read from this version, then I will bring out my actual point in its full totality, as yourself would say. So I'm reading from this version, ERV. It says, evil people should stop living evil lives. They should stop thinking bad thoughts. They should come to the Lord again, and He will comfort them. They should come to our God, because He will freely forgive them. Okay. With that being said, my point, or what was brought to my attention, and you all can comment on it as you would like. This point is so what I read is something that many Christians, okay, I use the term loosely, many Christians consider to be unmerited favor. Unmerited favor is like one of the biggest Christian cliches. Unmerited favor is something that's we see here is offered in the Tanakh, a.k.a. the Old Testament, or b.k.a. the Old Testament, outside of any sacrifice. This has nothing to do with no type of sacrifice from what I read. Y'all can, if I skip something, y'all can show me, but I don't see anything mentioned about a sacrifice. All I see is about turning away from your wickedness and your unrighteous thoughts and returning to the Most High. And He will have mercy upon you, and He will abundantly pardon. That's all I read. I didn't hear nothing about no lamb sacrifice. I didn't hear no type of sacrifice at all mentioned there, which was big to me, because that shows me that the Most High don't need no sacrifice to pardon or abundantly pardon your wicked ways and your unrighteousness. I would love to hear any feedback and comments on this, because to me this is big in the belief. So that's my only point. Me and Shemai had the same only point, as far as using the same reference, but just from two different angles.
And I want to read something. I just want to read the beginning of what I said was, everyone that thirsts come for the waters, and he that has no money, come ye to buy it, and eat ye. Come buy wine and milk without money and without price. That's the first verse. That's letting you know they ain't had nothing. You ain't got this is free. Like he was saying. All right, and it says that goes back into the hearken diligence in me and eat what is good. And you just pointed out, I had 6 and 7 highlighted also. That's why I said he did a very good job, because he took some of the points right out of my mouth. I was like, he's hitting a bunch of stuff, but you know what I'm saying? Like you say, there's some other stuff in there. Now, I see it as, this is exactly what I'm going to say. You have to remember the time period. I'm going to bring you back to this. You're exilic, right? You're not in your land. There is no temple, right? It's destroyed. There is no sacrifices because the temple is not there, period. You cannot have sacrifices without the temple.
Hold on, before you even move forward from that, they didn't own any animals to sacrifice. I just want to throw that in there too. They don't own any animals to sacrifice, because them sacrifices came from their own inventory. That's why it's a sacrifice. But go ahead.
So, exactly. That's a good point right there. So, also, like I say, they oppressed, beat down, have nothing. The Most High in this period, He's saying, y'all don't have nothing. I don't require nothing. I just want you to return back to me. This is big, like you say, for the modern day Christian, thing, because they don't want to follow the what the Most High has said. They have all the excuses in the world not to follow it, but and then they tell you something else. That's another doctrine, because we just read that it said, return back to me. We know what the returning back to me is. We've been reading that all the way up to here. You know what I'm saying? And all in Isaiah, it's been stating the same thing. So, turn from your idolatry, seek right rulings, treat people fair, those type of things was also mentioned. And more things will be mentioned in the second. I promise you that. This is still a continuation. So, and like I said, it's getting more on a personal thing. You ain't got no priest to do nothing for you. Holler at me. You dig what I'm saying? Come holler at me. And I feel like, are y'all tripping? Boom. I'm going to knock all that down to make you holler at me. Now stop looking at that temple to get rid of your sacrifices. Stop looking for sacrifices to get rid of your sin. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you how to do it, because y'all done got wrapped up in the wrong thing. Because as we know, they used to have a sacrifice ready before they committed the sin. Like, I know I'm about to mess up. I need 2 of these doves. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. But we always looking for a loophole, and I'm not going to go into a soapbox. But since they already kind of brought out the points on the caveat, and then that was one of my points, so I had more time to not read and speak. Let me see. I want to make sure I did. Boom, he said that, and then he went all the way down. Down to 12. So, I had something at 11, but I'm just going to speak on it just real quick. I'm not going to spend too much time. And then he says, but like Shema said, what we used to say, for my thoughts are not your thoughts. And see, I used to understand that as I can't understand what the Most High really thinks. You know what I'm saying? But now I see it as, in context, the people he's talking to, the people he's talking to, you know what I'm saying, is not thinking right. Then he say, y'all thoughts, the people I'm talking to, that he said, it has to be it's an unrighteous man in his thoughts. Okay, let him return unto Yah, and he will have mercy upon you. For my thoughts are not your thoughts. The unrighteous man in his thoughts. That's the context to me. And then it says, for the heavens are higher. I used to think it was totally different. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that limitation's off. Knock that down. Don't it feel good to get more freedom and more connection to the Most High? I love it. But that's all. Well, and then in 11, what's go forth out my mouth. All I want to say is he's reestablishing that the things that he's saying is true. You know what I'm saying? Basically, like you could take this to the bank. Okay. So once I see something the Most High say you can take to the bank, that's totally different. So now here we go. I just want to bring this out and throw this out here, and I'm just gonna throw it in the air since we're here. So all this talk about priestly stuff is needed, priests are needed, and all that extra stuff to have your connection or to do anything or to be obedient to the Most High. Can we say that that's just like we could throw that notion out? Because at this point, I want to show that we're talking about an evolving culture that has to deal with the changes in the people, the environment, And also, this changes a relationship. This changes the dependency on something. He wants them not to depend on anything, but to turn and come back to him. Now, I know some scriptures is probably poking in people's heads, so we'll revisit this later. That's all for me.
It's on you, Shema. If you don't have none, I think I got one more thing to bring up.
No, I don't have anything else for the chapter.
All right. So the last thing I wanted to bring up was in the very end of the chapter, verse 13, but not even the whole thing. But it talks about the thorns. And basically, like, instead of thorns, you know, other things are going to flourish, and the land is going to start flourishing and all that stuff like that. But, again, after the colon, it gets to the meat of what's going on before the colon, and that's the part that I really want to read. Reading from the KJV this time. And it shall be to the Lord for a name, for an everlasting sign that shall not be cut off. So that's just to show that the Most High, when He does things, is for like a reminder, like a sign. And in the version the ERV, it says to be a permanent reminder of His goodness and power. That's what it say. It say all this will happen to make the Lord known, to be a permanent reminder of His goodness and power. So it's always everything the Most High do. Even with the forgiveness, one of the things that I did want to say with that is there's something that was left out of the conversation that I wanted to add to the conversation. And for us to think about is a lot of times, as we've been reading in context, the Most High said, for my sake, I'm doing this. So a lot of times his forgiveness also is for his sake. So everything revolves around him. So if it doesn't really benefit the Most High in his entire will of what he's trying to do, like sometimes you may not be worth sparing. You know what I'm saying? It just depends on like the overall assessment of his will, I think. Just for the simple fact that I've continued to see him say, for my sake, I'm going to, spare y'all or whatever like that. And I just want to point out, not so much for the earlier conversation, but I feel like it do fit with the earlier conversation. But I did want to highlight this just for the fact that in this captivity that they were in, spoken of in Isaiah, a lot of the stuff that he was doing, he's telling them, hey, turn from your wicked ways. Hey, do this, do that. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that that's even on their mind right now, but he's sending a messenger to tell them this because he is going to have mercy on them for his own sake. You know what I'm saying? And so when they go back, you don't want to go back with the wrong mindset and then turn around and have it happen all the way again. You know what I'm saying? The Most High gonna move on his time, and he gonna do what he want to do. But if you ain't right, if he give you another opportunity and you ain't right, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like in vain. So it's like, prepare your mind for this return because you are going back. You are going to return, but you need to prepare your mind for the return. And I think even in the instance of, we still trying to, I feel like I know at this point whether this is past or for today, but that's on me. But let's just hypothetically say it's for today. You know what I'm saying? This is what we would experience right now. Like, the Most High would be telling us get our mind right because we are going to return. You know what I'm saying? And the only reason for him sending prophets and telling people to get right is because you're about to return, not just to be still sitting in captivity. He would only tell you to get your mind right so you could get out of captivity. So that's my last point. That's my last thoughts on this chapter.
Can I respond to it? Yeah. Great points that he brought up. Kind of got a question, but I agree with what he said and everything. I just wanted to add to it, or kind of question and / add. Would you say, or would y'all say, that, matter of fact, I think you're going to say, yeah, because you actually brought this up, if I'm not mistaken, that Moshe, remember he reminded him, you know what I'm saying, what his promise was. And would you say that for his sake is because of his promise that he made as well? I guess that's one question to it. And then would you say it's a chance that it's a, I want to say like two-part to that? Like, again, listeners, he's right. I just want y'all to know that this ain't like me going against what he said. But so I think that in addition to this statement, it's the for my sake, I'm wondering if it goes in line with what you did. I've said in the past as far as the Moshe, the promise he made with him, for his sake, for his name's sake, because I think Moshe said that to him. But then I guess the other part I would ask would be, is it possible to where it's like, okay, because like you change, whatever you say, what did he say? Go away from your wicked ways, iniquitous thoughts and things like that. Will he be associating that with like some of the remnant people we always speaking of, like those that were really of him, and then showing them like, you should be this way, like your ancestors or your forefathers who were a good representation of me.
Yeah, we talked about Abraham and all that stuff.
Yeah.
When he referenced Abraham and said, look to your father Abraham and your mother. So I do believe that is so, because it did say those who try to do right. That's from the version I read, who always try to do right, blah, 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 because when you look at it from the perspective of a nation, good people get caught up in the midst of the overall thing. So if you're working as a unit, and let's just say we all walk in to let's just say the panel go in to somewhere, and like me and Shema, I'm sorry I gotta do you like this, Yosef, but me and Shema chilling. Yosef loses his mind and snaps, right, and hauls off and do something crazy. Since we all walked in together, we all gonna suffer for the actions of Yosef. You know what I'm saying? And when things get crazy, however they get crazy, it's like they not going to really disassociate us. They gonna look like these three guys came into this establishment and caused ruckus, when actually it was just Yosef, really. Me and Shema was cooling. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like how I see it. Even though some of them may have been doing right, the captivity came on all of them. We know that because Daniel, all them, even Yeshua, he's trying to do right, you know what I'm saying? But they still in the situation that they in. But so it's like a unit goes into it. So when he says that, I feel like yes, it's more so for those who have the ears and the heart to actually take heed to the words that's coming out the prophet's mouth. The other people, they have the message is there for them to hear, but sometimes we already know how some people gonna do. You know what I'm saying? And but even so, it's like if you make it, because everybody don't make it back. You know what I'm saying? But if you do make it to see the day that y'all return, like, you need to have your mind right. Like, no matter if you was doing right now or if you wasn't doing right and you do get to go back, like, you need to have your mind right no matter who it is. You know what I'm saying? And for the namesake part, it's just like you said, yeah, Moshe, he said it as well. What are the people going to say if you kill your people out in the wilderness? You know what I'm saying? So it's always, and when we say namesake, we mean like reputation. Name meaning reputation, like for your reputation. You know what I'm saying? Like that reputation is what's going to be connected to the Most High. And then lastly, also, Israel is, Yah is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Everybody that is where the whole concept of the Most High God, Yah being the Most High God, come from. So if he killed them people off during these crucial times where, because he said, everybody will say that I am God, but it's through these people who even brought this out for people to even consider that, oh, yeah, Yah is the God of everything. It's through them that this is being revealed. So if you get rid of the messenger, you know what I'm saying, you basically got to find somebody else, start over a whole new nation, which he said he was going to do with Moshe, but Moshe still was a descendant of Abraham. So it also links to, like what you said, the promise. He got to stick with his promise, and it has to be, you know what I'm saying, all that is in conjunction with each other. It's all tied together. That was kind of long, but I wanted to make sure that everything was hit.
I want to say, I think Moses probably should have said, yeah. No, I'm just messing. Man, at least they'd all been following the law from birth. Because the Most High saw it. He's like, man, these people rebellious. You sure you don't want me to just knock them out? And we can start with you. You're going to be the father of all these nations. You a law follower. Just think of Israel coming out of Moses. Man.
I just think Moshe was just so obedient, man. That's what it really was. I mean, the law wasn't even, you know what I'm saying, it was
right.
handed down, but
everything
wasn't set up. It was just, he just
right.
did what the Most High said, even though at first he stalled, but once he started, it was like, man, I got to go to Pharaoh again. Like, he didn't never say anything else after that. He just did it. So, but them other jokers, man.
Man.
But
he already said, he said, man, these people were rebellious. They say these are stiff-necked people.
I think we are starting to veer off, so I'm going to nip it in the bud right now. we freestyling right now. We got to stick to the script. So we're going to go into this next chapter if anybody else didn't have anything. If you do have anything, any callers or whatever, you can go ahead and press 1 before we move forward. If not, we're going to move forward. And also, anybody that's listening in on live, we got about 9 minutes before we go into the overtime portion. And once we do go into the overtime portion, you will be cut off online, and you will have to finish the show once we actually finish. You have to go back and listen to the end. So if you want to continue in this dialogue without being cut off, you will need to call in, and that call-in number is 516-595-8238. Once again, that's 516-595-8238. We have nobody in the queue, so we're going to move on to our last and final chapter of this episode, which is Isaiah 56. And who haven't started
Me.
going off? Shema?
Yep.
Was that you, Shema? Okay, so Shema will start. I'll go last again. That's fine. Yourself, you can go second. All right, brother. The floor is yours.
All right. I'm gonna bring out just the first verse. The whole chapter is awesome. I'm sure somebody can touch on the other stuff that I would have. But the first part I want to bring out is it just says, thus said. So this means that if it's saying thus said, which I would have to go in Hebrew to confirm that means he's referring to him already saying it. So he's reiterating it. Observe justice, or some will say right ruling, I'm guessing, and perform righteousness. For my salvation is soon to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. So, that kind of just like, I don't know, I really don't get today's understanding of it, but he telling you to perform righteousness. I don't see why the Most High, it doesn't make sense to me for the Most High to tell you to do something that you can't do. It just really does not make sense. I mean, even if you talking to your kids and you tell your kid, hey, go put that empty bottle in that garbage over there. I'm telling you to do it because I know you can't do it. What? Now, if the kid, I ain't gonna say kid because kids is wrong, bad example. Let's say a teenager that shouldn't know. That's been told over and over again. You know what I'm saying? Any other detour that he takes, so she takes, it's because they chose to. It's a choice, preferred to. But it isn't hard to take this can of pop or bottle of water to the garbage can. Some will say, well, Shema, you making it smaller than what it is. I know it's harder or whatever, certain things, but is it hard for you to go kill somebody? Is it hard for you to steal somebody else's wife? To some it might be, but that's a choice. But anyway, I'm sorry. Let me get back to this. Observe justice and perform righteousness. My point was he would not tell us to do something that we cannot do, is my point, basically. We can do it. We just got to want to and go back to chapter 55 and let the wicked one forsake his way and the iniquitous man his thoughts. That thought thing is big. That's what me and the panelists was talking about before we got on the show, and we spoke on what, y'all conscience? That Elisha way of thinking, that the thought. We got to work on our thoughts, y'all. We got to work on our mindset, and that's it.
All right, just one second. This is a very deep verse. So I have to read two, and I had a whole bunch highlighted, but I have to stop somewhere. I gotta go 2 through 6, because it's all talking about the same thing, but I'm not gonna read it verbatim. I'm gonna say, okay, in 2, it says, blessed is the man that does Sabbath and keep his hand from doing evil. All right, it's 2 things, not just does Sabbath. Okay, then it says the son of the stranger and even the eunuch can take part. Now, this is a change. This is a change in the original way of things. Okay, a eunuch couldn't even go be in the presence of the Most High. Like as far as wasn't allowed in the temple. All right, and strangers. As far as strangers are ones that's not native born. All right. So this is loaded right there with a bunch of stuff right there. This is the Most High, and they're in exile. Okay? And in the first verse, he says, my salvation is near, my righteousness to be revealed. Bless the man that lays hold this and keep his Sabbath from polluted. All right? Now, someone could say maybe he's talking about them in the future when they're going to get this temple. I don't think that. I think he's talking about right now, because we're talking about, hey, turn now, get ready now, like he was just saying. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, blessed going to be everybody that takes part of my Sabbath and turns his hands from doing evil. That's the Sabbath in exile. All right, remember that. Some people say, can't do Sabbath in exile. Word. Well, Isaiah thinks different. So that's one. That's the one of the things in there also. And they're also saying the stranger, son of the stranger, can come in. You know, a lot of people say, nah, this is only for Israel. This, that, and the other. Well, the Most High speaks differently right here. This is thus says, yeah. Okay. He speaks different. Says, you do what's right, you can take a part of this too. I'm going to keep reading. For thus says Yah unto the eunuchs, keep my Sabbaths, choose the things, take hold of my covenant. I had to read that one because the Sabbath is a covenant. That's how you take hold of the covenant. The Sabbath was a covenant. And you go back to Exodus 31, can't remember which verse, just scroll down to like the middle or whatever, and it starts talking about the Sabbath being a covenant. All right, but also it says Sabbaths. I believe this is multiple Sabbaths, though. That's talking about, and I'm going to tell you why later. I can't go all the way down here. And choose the things. Oh, I'm sorry, right there. And then it's saying basically, you know, y'all got y'all part just like everybody else. It says in 6, also the sons of the stranger, okay, that serve the Most High, and everyone that keeps the Sabbath, okay, take hold of my covenant. It was repeated, you know what I mean, a couple times. Oh, I want to make sure I say this. It says, better than the sons and daughters, I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. All right, and I'm gonna stop right there. Like I say, this verse is loaded with a whole bunch of good juicy stuff in it. I'm saying from start to finish, but I wanted to reiterate about the Sabbath and them being in exile, and then it was 2-part turning from their evil ways that had to do with it also. And I relinquish the floor for that.
All right, this brother hit numerous points in one. This brother had a buckshot. He said he was shooting one, but it spread it. All right, so I don't want to kind of reiterate too much on some of the things he said, so I do want to go back to something that Shema said first off before I get started. I believe in verse 1, you know, it's something that Yosef said later on. I think they both was conveying this, but I just want to confirm, and then also if this is what y'all saying, I want to agree for the simple fact of what y'all, you know, brought out. So the salvation, as we see in verse 1, it say, for my salvation is near to come and my righteousness to be revealed. Shema brought out, he's telling them to keep your judgment and do justice. And we get the why they should do this. Because his salvation is near. Because the thing is, the judgment and do justice is like, you know what I'm saying, that whole concept, because right now they, like he said, they in captivity. They can't really exercise the authority of judgment, meaning like somebody stand before the judge and they render a verdict and do justice, and then you get the real essence of that after the colon. I love these colons, man, now that I really understand what they are. So I always talk about them. But it say, for my salvation is near to come and my righteousness to be revealed. What he's saying is that these practices, the things that you know to be of justice and judgment, the ways that I pass down to y'all, he's saying to keep those things, like understand them. Really, in the Hebrew, it means guard. So guard those things, for my salvation is near to come, meaning like you're going to go back. I'm going to take you back. You're going to be set up to where you can actually fully exercise these things. Not saying that they can't exercise them at all right now, because we could always do justice on our level. We could always do judgment on our level, meaning that we could step in and diffuse a situation that's being handled wrong amongst one another. But to actually exercise it to the full extent to where it's like you could put somebody to death and all that, that's on another level. So he's saying, for my salvation is near. Why would he have to say that? It's because, you know what I'm saying, he's going to set them back up to where they can fully exercise these things. But he's saying, keep it, guard it in your situation that you're in right now. I say all that to say the salvation was near. So whatever salvation that everybody is looking at in Yeshayahu, I know a lot of people think that he's speaking for a long distant, a far time from what was being spoken of in the book, but to me it's been clearly and consistently displayed that salvation was for their era. So I guess I'll stop with that point. There was some other things that he said that was points of mine, as far as the Lord, you know, accepting foreigners who choose to follow him, verses 3, verses 6 through 7. I agree with that. You know, whoever's teaching against that is teaching against the book. And, yeah, I'll end with that, and then I'll have some other points. I'm done. So I believe it's back on Shema.
Okay, yeah. I really don't have too much, but I will say this. Matter of fact, yeah, I do. I was about to say I don't really have anything because he actually brought it out, but I can bring this up. It's actually two things. I want to point out that on this one he does says in verse 4, he says, "For thus says Yah to the barren ones who observe my Sabbaths." I want to point that out to the listeners, because you're going to hear some people who will say, he will use and switch it up and say your Sabbath. I think we touched on what that meant. I think we read that already. I'm not sure. I think we did. But it's his Sabbaths, my Sabbaths. Understand that, people. It is not their Sabbaths. It becomes their Sabbaths when they operate within it and not in the right spirit. You know, not doing what thus says Yod-Heh Wahe. But it is my Sabbath, like he said, and choose what I desire. So it has to be within his desire and grasp my covenant tightly, the way that he prescribed it. It should be our, or it should have been their, you know, what they was going for. But a lot of them did, apparently. But then I want to go down real quick.
Okay. The foreigners who join themselves become favorite to him. I will bring them to my holy mountain. Okay, for right now, that's my point I wanted to bring out. I wanted to bring out that's his Sabbaths. And that should be understood. And then I'll bring out the next one when I find it. I'm looking for it now, if I have another point.
All right, that's my point. I wanted to, you know what? I think I know what the other point is. I'm going to let him have that. So what I'm going to say is verse 8. It says, Yah, which gathered the outcasts of Israel, says, Yet I will gather others to him, beside those that are gathered unto him. Now this gathering right here is, it says to him. That's one, but it is a gathering. All right. So I was thinking about this, and maybe I might be wrong, but I think this form of the gathering up into him is, doing what's right, and he's like, this isn't about, I don't know, like, how can I explain that? Hold on. All right. First off, I did want to point out the fact that it said others beside it. You know what I'm saying? So, but other than that, it was, when I heard the gather to him, I correlated that with everything else he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like the Sabbath, the doing right, you know what I mean? And not more so of a gather to go, like just go gather in the land. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. I was trying to verbalize it right. But that was my point. And if I bring out what I think he bring out, then I might not have another point. So I yield the floor.
All right, so I got 2 points left. I'm going to go into one of them. But before I do that, I just want to say I do believe that he's saying gathering to the land. Just for the simple fact, before that he talks about the temple, like he's mentioning the temple, and he's saying that he's going to bring them, into the temple. So the gathering, it was always that they always went to a central location where the Most High name was supposed to be, which was the temple. So just in the context of this, that's what I'm seeing. You know what I'm saying? And that's just from my perspective. Which I'm sure, you know what I'm saying, you may have a rebuttal to that, which is fine. But
no, you saying that unto him
wait
is
till we go around.
All right.
Just wait till
Hold on.
My
question is a question. It's a question. You're already talking, so it's not a rebuttal.
Okay.
Question, so you can answer it. So you're saying that unto him is more so the central, like where it's like his name is in Israel. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So unto him is more so unto his name, or you know what I'm saying,
right.
unto the place that he is called out of.
Right.
I can go with that. Ain't nothing solid. I feel that because the other stuff going on is talking about going back to the land. You know what I'm saying? And so I can see that. That's for sure. All right.
Okay. All right, so my point was in, let me see, 3 through 5, which has already been read, so I'm probably not going to read it, but it's talking about the eunuchs. I'm going to read a specific part in there. But the point is this concept of establishing a good name and how that good name or reputation can be of more value than having children. Okay, because we know Enoch is not finna have no kids. They members is gone. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, he says that I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Let's see, in which part exactly? Let me see. 5, 4. Let's see. Join themselves. Excuse me, I'm reading out the KJV, which I wasn't initially doing. Okay, so in 5 it says, even unto them will I give in mine house, and within my walls, and we know his house is the temple, my walls, a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters. So basically establishing this name is of great value, great importance for those that, because we know most people's name and reputation is passed down through their kids. You know what I'm saying? But because they don't have this ability, he's just saying, you know, that's really what I got is the headliner of, you know, one, even having children at all is for your namesake. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you live on, and that's how you continue your legacy. So for them, they can't do that. So he's saying he's going to have a memorial set up for those. And I remember he also did that, if as it's coming to my mind right now, he did that for one of the, I think the kings or something. He didn't have no child, and they made a memorial for him. Like he was one of the rare kings that didn't have no children or whatever, and they made a memorial for him. So I see this legacy concept is like real big. You know what I'm saying? And that, you know, it's mainly focused on carrying your name and or reputation, you know what I'm saying, throughout the generations. That's why he said it would be an everlasting thing. So that's that point. And then I just got one more after this, which is really kind of like a question.
Actually, as I read my point again, that's mine turned into a question too.
All right. So my point I want to bring out real quick. I think somebody said something about this, but I wanted to tell you what I see, and then kind of see if well, not if you see it, but just tell you what I see, I guess. So, in context of it, going down from 3 all the way to what we can see 7, we see him talking about the foreigners, right? So I want to just read 6 down to 9 real quick. And the foreigners who join themselves to Yah, to serve him and to love the name of Yah, to become servants unto him, all who guard the Sabbath against desecration and grasp my covenant tightly, I will bring them to my holy mountain, and I will gladden them in my house of prayer. Their elevation offerings and their feast offerings will find favor on my altar. For my house will be called a house of prayer for all the peoples. Now, going to verse 8. The word of Adonai, my Lord, Yah Elohim, who gathers in a dispersed of Israel, I shall gather them to him even more than those already gathered to him. Verse 9. All beasts of the field come to eat all the beasts in the forest. Now, I'm going to put verse 9 with verse 8 along with verse 3 through 7. This is the Shema speaking. I believe the verse 8, I should gather to him even more than those already gathered to him, is speaking of others in regards to people. Verse 9, when it talks about all beasts of the field, come to eat all the beasts in the forest, I don't believe that to be actual animals. I think that's another personification or a metaphor, not a personification, sorry, a metaphor to people. I read in the Safaria, I think it's Safari, I don't even know how to say it right, I think it's Safaria. Y'all know what I'm saying? Yeah, Safaria. When you read verse 8 and 9, it says, thus declares the Lord God, who gathers the dispersed of Israel. I will gather still more to those already gathered. All you wild beasts, come and devour, all you beasts of the forest. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, metaphorically, we have seen the beasts of the field was in regards to what we will see. I'm sorry. I thought we have seen it as well, but beasts being referred to as people. I believe this is perhaps more converts, and that's all I have.
All right. As I was reading this, man, again, and I used to think this to mean something else, but I have a question, All right, it says in 9, I'm going to read 9 on. All ye beasts, man, let me read it in a different translation. Maybe that is. So all the beasts of the field come to devour. All you beasts in the forest, and I do believe that is people, what I'm saying, as far as devouring. But then I'm like wondering, who is he talking to when he say his watchmen are blind, all of them they have not known, all of them dumb dogs, unable to bark, dreaming, lying down, loving to slumber. All the dogs have a strong appetite, they never have enough, and they are shepherds. Okay, this is word. Ro'im. And it says they have not known understanding, looking for their own way, getting drunk. Who is his watchman? Because it started out talking about the beasts of the field, and such and such. It says his watchman. They talking about Israel at this point. It's like this. Now, right after he tells them to change, you know what I'm saying? So, is Isaiah basically saying to them, change, do what's right. You know what I mean? And unity can even do what's right. And he say, all of these, the other people, they come to devour. And Israel's watchmen are blind. All of them dumb dogs. Like, is that how that turned out? Or is he talking about the other nations? Like, the beasts, they come to devour. They watchmen blind and only about riches and gold and stuff like that. And drunk. That's my question. Because how I used to think this was, I've used this in retrospect to talk about this was the pastors, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, and they're shepherds. They not knowing, understanding. That's how I used to think and say and quote this scripture. But that's not in context what he's talking about, no futuristic shepherds and pastors or nothing. But so I have a question on who it is talking about.
Okay, so I will address that, and then I'll go into my last point, and then it'll make it back around to Shema. My last point ain't really big anyway. So I just believe, going through the context, as you said, when you're reading it, he talking about eunuchs, he talking about foreigners, then he talking about them doing right. Then it keeps going down. He's saying he will bring them to his holy mountain. Keep going down. They're going to offer sacrifices, which I'm going to come back to that point for my last point, so just keep it in mind. and it will please him. You know what I'm saying? And his temple gonna be called as, you know, a house of prayer, so on and so forth. And then he goes into Israelites going into captivity, and he gonna bring them back, and then he throws this little wild animals in the forest and to come eat. The watchmen are blind. So, I think I just got a little revelation. So, you got to think, watchmen, shepherds. The shepherds are like the prophets, right? He talks about shepherds too, right in there.
Right.
And they are shepherds that cannot understand. So, shepherds, watchmen, prophets. Watchmen are prophets. They watch the people. A shepherd watches the sheep, right? The sheep follow the shepherd. The shepherd takes them to the pasture to eat. If the shepherd is blind, he's walking them to a place where they can't eat. He's telling them to come and eat. Basically like saying that the watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are dumb dogs. Basically like they ain't doing their job. They ain't up on their thing. So he telling them, all the people that he was naming and stuff that want to do right, that want to do this, that's following these blind shepherds that have led them in captivity because they wasn't doing their job. He's telling them to leave them and come and eat. Just come eat. You know what I'm saying? The food is here. Come eat. You know what I'm saying? He's calling them wild animals in the forest because they are like running wild. Because remember, I had said they wandered off. So the shepherd or the watchman got them out in the forest like wild animals. But sheep are not wild animals. You know what I'm saying? But they out there like they wild animals. He's telling them, you know what I'm saying, come back and eat in the pasture. That's what I'm getting from it. And Shema, he can go ahead and speak, and I'll just do my point after we close this out.
No, I don't have anything.
Yourself, you could respond. Okay. Yourself, did you want to respond to what I said before I move forward and to the point?
No, my first interpretation of that used to be something of a future tense, but I used to always think it was Israel shepherds doing this to him. And then I thought, that's why I was like, well, they're reading it, and it's like he was talking about the goodness and all this other stuff. Then he just like now it's like turned against. He started talking bad about the shepherds and watchmen of the, you know what I mean, other people like real quick. Like that went south real quick. But all right, so yeah, that was another. It's been a couple of scriptures basically that I've seen through here that I've used out of context over the years that I see now. You know what I mean? I think I've just used the thoughts and not my thoughts the other day before I read this. His thoughts ain't our thoughts. You know what I'm saying? And that was another one. This is another one that I've equated to some future tense at one point. I haven't in a while, but when I first came into the truth, I used to go hard and say this was Sunday pastors. For real. But that's it.
Okay. I'm gonna do one last comment. The thing, like I think I said this last show, a lot of things that we see within these things are prevalent to today's era because the word of the Most High is like, these things is what it is. It's just reality of how things go down. You know what I'm saying? Now, this particular passage may not be for this time, but we can see it. You know what I'm saying? Because just some things just never change. You know what I'm saying? It's just a continuous cycle. So when I always say that I believe this is not speaking to us, because the Most High can speak to us, you know, when did he become mute? When did he stop being able to communicate with people? That's one of my biggest things. So, like, a lot of times I see things, and as we are going through them in context, I'm seeing like, oh man, this is talking directly to these people and in their generation and stuff or whatever. But we know that the word is relevant to us in any time. That's why I was talking about salvation as well. Like, his salvation, he said, for generations or whatever, it's everlasting. So that same salvation that he spoke of is available for us in any time that we need it. And then a lot of times we're going to see the same situations, and that's why it's always good to reference the Bible in your situation, but just know that it's not exactly your situation. You have to get the right move or the right instructions for the current situation, because sometimes you can't always use it. It's like we say, okay, well, in here it's talking about Assyria, or in here it's talking about this, but we equate it to something else. But as long as we know that that's not what it is for real, like we can say, like for instance, what Brother Mercy brought up, we could say that this is Babylon. Metaphorically, we could say that. But is it truly Babylon, like the real Babylon? You know, those are things we need to ask. Or now we're reading the text thinking that this is finna happen exactly when it is not going to happen like that because it already happened. You know what I'm saying? So we waiting for something that already happened when the Most High could be trying to talk to us, telling us this is what we need to do right now. And then we miss out on our salvation because we looking for a salvation that already been given, you know what I'm saying, in a particular way that it was supposed to come. But it wasn't supposed to come for us like that, and what we should be doing is figuring out what the Most High want us to do. So that was the biggest thing for me, and I think that was something that I needed to capitalize on that was being spoke of. But what I want to do, just like I'm finna take that, what I just said, and apply it to something that I'm finna read right now. All right. So as we all know, like I was saying again, Yeshayahu, Isaiah, is for most what people look to as a apocalyptic era. It was speaking of a apocalyptic era. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know what I'm saying, this is where we look. So in verse 7, we saw it was talking about sacrifices and offering would be pleasing to the Lord. We read that. So it's crazy because now we deal with this, okay? And I'm gonna just put all the cards on the table right here. So now we have a conflict of interest right here. Because if this is apocalyptic, we see sacrifices and offerings being brought to the Lord. Now we have the argument that Jesus was their last and final sacrifice, right? For those that follow that doctrine. So if he's the last and final sacrifice, and this is apocalyptic, then we have a conflict of interest because what are they bringing sacrifices for if he was the final sacrifice? And that's when we start getting into division unnecessary arguments, because now you have to make a choice. You have to either choose that, okay, this is not apocalyptic and Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice, or Jesus wasn't the ultimate sacrifice and this is apocalyptic and we're going to be doing sacrifices in the last days. That's my point. I'm done, and I would love to hear some feedback.
Shemai, it's your turn, right?
I don't have anything for it, honestly.
Okay. I do want to comment. I'm not going to play with people. So what I'm going to say is, you can make all the choices you want to. They'll be wrong choices. So what's going on is we're talking about a reestablishing, going back in. It's going to reestablish things. The temple will be built, and they do sacrifices again. This happened in history. Okay? So you could say it's anything you want to say it, but this has happened in real life already. So it doesn't take away from anything, it doesn't take away from any prior belief, but it should always, now you just got to, just keep on trucking. Like, all right, this was misapplied somewhere or given to me out of context, and that's fine. It might have been given to them out of context, and then so on and so forth. But in context and in history, I couldn't apply this, and nobody could rightfully apply this to anything futuristic. Not these verse right here. Like, not this. Okay? Because in context, we just went all the way through scriptures and it's talking about reestablishing Jerusalem. And then that actually happened. The temple was actually set up again, and they was very adamant about the Sabbath, and they did sacrifices. It happened. All right. So that's my comment. And I knew you was going to say something about the arguments too.
All right, we got Brother Mercy in the queue. I did want to say something before I let you in, Brother Mercy. This is just a critical thinking exercise. That's all it is from my standpoint. And this is not for Brother Mercy. I'm just speaking in general. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, because I threw, Jesus in there and all that stuff like that, I just want everybody to know I'm not attacking either or. You know what I'm saying? This is just a critical thinking exercise, just for you to critically think about what it is that somebody's feeding you to believe. You know what I mean? When you really critically think and think about some of these things, if this is futuristic, apocalyptic, like this is the final gathering, is this is how many perceive this to be or teach this to be, that gathering that he's going to do, then you have to consider all things within the text. That's all I'm saying. And if something is not lining up with what the person is feeding you that is supposed to be, which I use the example of Jesus being the ultimate sacrifice, the last sacrifice, no more sacrifices or whatever, and we see this whole thing about the temple, sacrifices, and everything like that. Now we have a conflict of interest because it's like, okay, what did he die for? For real. You know what I'm saying? If people still killing animals. You dig what I'm saying? So that's my thing. I'm letting y'all into my thought process, and in hopes to get others to think about things of this nature than to just believe what people have put in front of us. So that's my thoughts. I'm gonna let Brother Mercy in, And then after Brother Mercy's done, if no one has anything else with this chapter, we'll go into closing statements and our normal routine for closing out the show. Brother Mercy, you're live.
Yeah, I was going to say that, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. I was going to say that I don't understand how okay, I'll say it this way. The sacrifice of, I don't know how we get Jesus into this, but the sacrifice of Jesus was not done by a priest, number one. It was not done by Hebrew people, it was done by the Romans. So I'm just trying to, how a Roman crucifixion stops Hebrew practice. I don't see the how that ends. One ends the other. But to me, what I'm saying here in this chapter is, you know, an acceptable sacrifice, and you know, those who keep the Sabbath, those who do what is right, and you know, their burnt offering sacrifice will be accepted on my altar. For my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations. You know, people say that a house will be called a house of prayer, but this house of prayer is only called a house of prayer because they're burnt offerings. And I don't know when we're going to return back to the burnt offering phase of it, but to me, if you're going to have a temple and you're not going to have an altar with burnt offerings, what's the purpose of having a temple? Because the whole purpose of the temple was to give one central location for burnt offering. So, you know, I just don't. People talk about sacrifices and ending sacrifices, putting away with sacrifices, but I just don't see people returning back to sacrifices. And I don't hear anybody talking about returning back. So that whole thing right there, I mean, to me, if you're not trying to return back to sacrifices, then you must believe Jesus ended the animal sacrifices. That's all I was going to say. I mean, to me, like you already know, I want to go back to the altar. You already know that. I've already stated that. So
yeah, we know your stance on sacrifices, Brother Mercy. So I like I said, I already know. Like, so you bringing out some good questions as well, and that's why I say that's where the division and stuff come in, because you know some of these things that are just overlooked. You know, if you bring this to somebody, like as you said, that believes that Jesus took away all sacrifices or whatever, because, I mean, I'm going to just ask you, do you know people like that? Like that think like that?
Of course. But,
okay, so I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like just me.
But also, I know people that don't want to go back to burnt offerings. So if you don't want to go back to burnt offerings, then you kind of agree with this general consensus.
I see it like this, you know, and this is kind of like something that we could do a rest show. We could do a rest show on, because that's kind of like where it's going right now. But so I'll write it down. But just for the sake of this conversation, so it's not left completely undone, I just believe in the context of this, no sacrifice was mentioned, far as like your sins is concerned. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, there's a practice that was done amongst Yahudi, you know, so or Jews, that is a practice, you know, but it was never like always the case of the Most High forgiving. So I think that's also a big thing within this whole thing too. But my main point was for those that believe that way, in which you are insinuating that people believe, in which I insinuated people believe, which I know people believe like that. That's why I asked you, do you know people like that? So that way both of us are in agreement that, yes, people think like that. But people also believe that they needed that sacrifice for the Most High to forgive them. You know what I'm saying? That was the biggest thing. And then they also believe that sacrifice did away with any animal sacrifices as well. It's like a dual thing. Some people don't just believe that Jesus died for their sins, but they still supposed to do animal sacrifice. They believe that was the only, and that's actually what the New Testament says, once and for all. You know what I'm saying? That's what it say. But I don't want to get into semantics about the New Testament, but what I'm saying is that that's what I want people to critically think about when they look at that as an apocalyptic, as Yeshayahu as apocalyptic, that is something that's going to happen in the far future, like at the end, because according to what is set in place, that Jesus already died for that. So now, if that's apocalyptic, after, like, once he returns and gathers everybody, and then they're doing sacrifices, that does not mesh with the narrative, is what I'm saying. So it needs to be reevaluated, the thought of that. That's all I was saying, as far as my point goes.
Let me say this, though. I know you keep jumping to sacrificing for sin. I know you keep jumping to that point, but I don't hear Isaiah saying that. I hear Isaiah saying, their burnt offering sacrifice will be accepted on my altar, for my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations. In other words, the sacrifice was done to sanctify the house, or to make the house a house, to make the temple a house of prayer. Okay? So if you ain't got no sacrifice inside your temple ain't no house of prayer. Therefore, it ain't sanctified. That's what Brother Mercy's saying.
I got what you're saying, Brother Mercy. I
got
what you're saying, Brother Mercy.
Right, because them offerings inside of there, it was like, like them offerings also is like, they was good things. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to understand. It's like some stuff was just free will offerings. Every time we think of offering, people think of sustaining. Now, some stuff was good offerings. Like, you could just offer something. You can offer anything, but you offered things. You know what I'm saying? Your best of your cattle and stuff like that. Y'all know the deal. So, and like, just to caveat what he said, you have to understand the time that we're in. Now, as far as what Brother Mercy talking about, we'll talk about that later. You know what I'm saying? I'll just say that I agree with Yediyah about seeking the Most High for our time. I'm not really trying to. I'm looking at the culture. I'm seeing something. He's showing me something. You know what I'm saying? And what he's showing me might be different from what he's showing someone else, and that's fine. But what I'm getting out of this is, we got to get it for ourselves from the Most High the way he wants to. Because as far as this salvation was to happen through Cyrus. It was already stated previous chapters. If we're going to equate the whole context, what are we waiting on, the Cyrus? You know what I'm saying? So, and then you think about the salvations previous to this, where Ahaz's salvation came because of Assyria coming in and knocking off the people and taking the 10 tribes. So that was salvation for them earlier in Isaiah. So it comes in different forms. The Most High likes to do different things. He did 10 different plagues. He did, you know what I'm saying? He does different things. It's like no limit to what he'll do. So if it doesn't take away from what the Most High could do, like he say, salvation is for all generations. It's just that we got to start focusing and say, all right, you know what? What does he want from, okay, I could see what some other people did in exile, and that's what the Most High told them to do. I can roll with that, and then I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like we need to try to connect to the Most High to find out what He wants us to do. How is our salvation? If we're gonna, if you're still saying we need salvation, well, I mean the keys is in the book. The keys. All right, and that's what we got to use them as keys to unlock our destiny. That's how I feel. And I'll use the mic.
Brother Mercy, you can have some last words before we go into the closing statement. We'll give you about 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. I just wanted to say real quickly is that, the whole thing about Isaiah, what I love about Isaiah, is that what he's talking about, if you look at what he's talking about a temple, a place of prayer, because if you can't pray, then you're not going to have no sins forgiven. Of course, that too. That comes later after Solomon built the temple. But I just wanted to say, first we got to get a temple, and this is what Isaiah is talking about. The first thing is to make the temple a house of prayer, and I think that's what if we're trying to do anything, it depends on what we want. Do we want a house of prayer today? If we don't, then okay, forget everything then. But if you want a house of prayer, there's instructions. So I just wanted to say that. So I know we think about prayer, we only think about the fans. That's it. That's because we're raised in the church. That's why. But I'm looking at Isaiah critically and objectively. And I'm looking at Isaiah, he's just trying to get the temple a place of prayer. These people are in exile on their own. And that's what I was trying to say. I think we just need to take step by step. It depends. Think our people, they need a house of prayer. One designed by the Most High. That's all.
All right, cool. Point taken, Brother Mercy. I'm going to mute your mic. We're going to go into closing comments. First, we're going to start off with Shema, then we're going to go yourself, then I'll end it and end in prayer. So we currently got 10 minutes left, and I'll render the floor. Go ahead yourself, and then Shema, and then myself. Well, I think I said Shema first. So Shema first, then yourself, then me.
Just want to thank everyone that tuned in. As usual, I hope that you grasped or gathered something from any of the panelists or all of us collectively, or even Mercy, anyone that spoke out. Other than Mercy Janoy, I believe it was, Azariah. I don't know how you said it. But appreciate all of you again, and we hope to see you next week. That's all.
All right, brother yourself. Appreciate everybody tuning in, everybody that can listen online, everybody that called in, everybody that was a part of the discussion. We can always have a continuation on the post on in His Talk Talk Radio. If you have any questions, we're always there to answer questions throughout the week as soon as we can. We'll get back to you. Also, just a reminder, we have a debate tomorrow at 3 o'clock Central Time. And me and a guy named Dwayne E. Patrick. And the stance is, like he said, is the captivity today and the blessings and the curses. So it was a dual like little post office thing type of deal. So it fits all together because the captivity was linked to the curses. So you kind of talk about both at the same time. So. Like I say, first live, and then we have one following next week. I'll give you the details. It will be 3 p.m. Central Time on Sunday. That one's going to be a little deeper. I'll give y'all details later on. I'll reveal that debate. Yeah, probably Monday or Tuesday. All right. Shalom. And y'all enjoy the rest of your Shabbat.
All right, man. Shalom, Janoi, shalom, mercy. Shalom, everybody that tuned in that didn't come on and speak. Brother Jeff, Brother Drew, all y'all, man, really appreciate y'all tuning in, and I appreciate those that put in the input and helping us build. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's all about. So I did want to close out by saying that, you know, within this so far, I guess I could save it for, you know, the season finale. So, matter of fact, I'm not even going to elaborate or say anything about it. But today was a good show. Again, I really appreciated the feedback that was given during the show. And next week will be a rest show. Brother Shimon, Brother Yosef will be handling that. So if y'all have any suggestions on what to talk about, make sure y'all make a post in the group, his Talk Once Talk Radio, and those brothers will make sure that your thoughts and your suggestions are considered in the rest show. And other than that, again, make sure y'all tune in to the live debate tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Brother Yosef and Dwayne, I believe is his
Dwayne
name, right?
Patrick. Yeah, Dwayne Patrick.
Yeah. So that's that, man. If everybody would just clear their mind, I'm just going to close out in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for another opportunity to be in the land of the living. We ask that you continue to be with us, continue to lead and guide us, continue to provide growth spiritually, mature our minds. We ask that you forgive us for anything that we have wrongfully done in your sight, and help us to become better people. Any wrong that we have done amongst one another, we ask that it be brought to our attention and that we are provided the opportunity to wrong that right. We bless your holy name. We thank you. Amen.